All right, welcome back everyone. It's Miss Cheryl. I want to continue to look at how to analyze because analyzing is a very important skill that we all need to have and to learn, but it's also a difficult skill to learn at first. So I want to break this down a little bit more, look at a couple more examples so we can make sure that we all are on the same page and we know how to properly analyze a piece of literature, as we will be using this skill the rest of the year. Let's dig in. So we looked at this last week. Let's just quickly review. What does it mean to analyze? We can explain a cause and effect relationship. For instance, I drank coffee, so I gained energy. The character was nasty, so I don't like him. The setting has an odor, so it is not a positive place. We can also compare and contrast. We can compare and contrast characters, settings, plots, and other stories or genres. For instance, the character X is the opposite of character Y because the story X is similar to story Y because the setting in this story X is similar to story Y because. Also, take note of the sentence structures of both explaining a cause and effect relationship and comparing and contrast. Like, look at so. The cause, so the effect. Or when I want to compare and contrast, I talk about the two things I want to compare and contrast, and I say because to give an explanation of why I think that or why it's apparent. Moving on, we also discussed how the parts of a system can interact. For instance, program X does this and program Y does that. Because of this, the machine can do X, Y, Z. Also, this word makes the reader think of this, and so the character is shown to be like that. Okay, keep these in mind. You can always come back to this video and review these different ways to analyze. Let's look at the leveled analysis tables. Starting at level 1, we want to identify and look at effects of things in a story. For instance, we can look at what do the characters' actions or speech make us think or feel? What does a particular word make us think or feel? And what does the setting and its description make us think or feel? Remember at the setting I said if the author describes the setting as dark and uncertain make us automatically think this place is scary, it's a dangerous place. Okay, so level 1, when we're looking at the analysis tables, we can look at these things to get us started. Once we've found one thing to look at in level 1, we want to take that example and apply it to the whole. So we can apply to what is the whole character like, what is the whole setting like, what is the whole plot like. After we've done tier 1 and tier 2, we can move to tier 3 where we want to make connections. We want to make connections to something bigger than the story. For instance, what is the theme or the message based on level 1, level 2 analysis? How is this an example of the genre based on level 1, level 2 analysis? What other stories are similar based on level 1, level 2 analysis? And what things in history are similar? So each part builds to make a whole from level 1, level 2 to level 3. Moving on. So let's go more in depth. In level 1, we want to look at the small parts of a story and the effects the small parts have. Well, in a story, what do you think are the smallest parts? I hope you said words, right? So let's look at the effects of words, as word choice can be the smallest part of a story. And the author's lexical choice or word choice is the smallest part of the story. So last week we looked at the example of odor. Let's go back to that example and look at it in a different way. So if an author describes the house next door in his story this way, what things come to mind? So if the author says, there was a strong odor from the house next door. When you hear a strong odor or when you read a strong odor, what comes to mind? Good, bad, smelly, fresh? Typically when we see the word odor, or especially a strong odor, in our minds we think of something stinky or smelly or something bad. But what if an author described the house next door this way? There was a strong fragrance from the house next door. When you see the word fragrance, what comes to mind? I know for me, I think of nice smelling perfume or cologne or nice smelling flowers. So when someone uses the word fragrance, we think of nice, positive, really beautiful smelling things. But when an author uses the word odor, in our minds we make a connection that it's smelly or stinky. However, when you Google these definitions, it's the same thing, right? Odor is a particular smell, fragrance is a particular smell. Yet they both give off different effects. Odor negative, fragrance positive. Looking at word choice just like that would be a level 1 analysis. Looking at what does a particular word make us think or feel. Let's keep going. So we want to look at connotations. And when you think of connotations, think of it as a connection. So odor, what does that make us think? Odor makes us think of bad smells, whereas fragrance reminds us of nice smells. So connotations are a connection that our mind makes to something else. It's also the emotional or the imaginative connection we have with a word. Just like odor makes us think smelly, fragrance makes us think good, smells good. It's an emotional or imaginative connection we have with a word. That's what a connotation is. And that's what just happened in the odor fragrance example. So we're going to look at some more connotations. When you hear the word stare, what do you think of? Typically, stare is kind of creepy, like I was staring at her all night long, or the cat was staring at me, or when someone you're like, why are you staring at me, right? It's typically negative or creepy. What about when you hear the word examine? What do you think of when you hear someone say, I examined this or I examined that? Typically, it's not bad, it's not good, it's just, someone's examining, they're giving it a deeper, closer look, right? So it's not necessarily creepy or weird like stare, they're just going to examine something, they're going to give it a deeper or closer look. What about gaze? When you hear gaze, I gazed at her, what do you think? Typically we say gazed or I gazed at them. I kind of almost think of love, like I loved this person, so I was gazing into their eyes, or I loved that art and I was just gazing at the art. But what's funny about all three of these words is they all mean look, yet they all have different effects. They all have different connotations. Stare connects us to creepy, examine connects us to a deeper look, gaze connects us to a loving look, a loving gaze. But they all mean the same thing. This is how cool it is to examine, or I just said examine, this is how cool it is to analyze word choice on a level 1 analysis. Because different words have different effects. They have different connotations. Let's keep going. Let's look at another connotation. When you hear the word sunny, what comes to mind? I typically think bright, sunny, nice day, it's beautiful out, I could go to the beach, go to the pool. What about summery? Summery makes you maybe think the Caribbean or a summer vacation to a tropical, lovely beach town or pool again, So sunny is just a beautiful day. Summery is I'm going on a vacation, right? To a nice pool or a nice beach. Well, what do you think when you hear the word scorching? Scorching typically means burning hot, like I am scorching hot, or the sun is scorching hot today. But sunny, scorching, and summery all mean the same thing, right? They're all talking about temperature, weather, they're all talking about the sun. But these different words make our minds think something else. Our minds have a connotation, a connection to different things, to positive and to negative, and we can imagine certain things in our mind when we see these words. That's a level 1 analysis, looking at the smallest parts, the effects of words. Moving on, let's apply to the whole. Let's look at level 2. So what is the whole character like? What is the whole setting like? What is the whole plot like? Well, let's look at a quote. Say that the level 1, or the quote that we saw was in the book was, the boy was nosy. Well, the word nosy has a negative connotation and it makes me think of a rude person, right? Like, get out of my business. You're nosy, you're creeping around, you're trying to find things out. So if I looked at level 1 at the word nosy, saying it has negative connotations and it makes me think of a rude person, then if I applied this to the whole character, I could say this reveals that the character is a bad character who is impolite. So just from this one little quote in the story, I can make a connection, and a negative one because he was described as nosy, to the whole of his character, a bad and impolite character. Let's do it again. The weather was scorching. If I see this in a story, well, I can take on a level 1 analysis, I can look at the word. I can say the word scorching has negative connotations and it makes me feel very uncomfortable and hot and sweaty. So I can look at the whole setting by saying this highlights that the setting is a dangerous, unpleasant place. So I can look at the whole setting just based on the way it's described with one word. It's pretty cool. Next, the man stared at her. Okay, so this is the quote in the book. Let's look at a level 1 analysis. The word stared can have negative connotations and makes me think of a creepy person. Level 2, this informs that the character is a dangerous character. So, level 1, you're always looking at the smallest parts, particularly word choice, character actions, or character speech, or setting. Level 2, you take what you found, the one word or the one sentence, and you apply it to the whole of whatever that was. Level 1, we looked at a character. Level 2, we looked at a setting description. And level 3, we also went back and looked at a character. Excuse me, not level 3, the third example. Okay, let's do it again. The park was sunny. When we see the park was sunny, the word sunny has positive connotations and makes me think of a nice day in the summer. So, if I'm talking about the setting and the word sunny at level 1, which is a word, level 2, I could say that this highlights that the setting is a nice, positive place. Moving on. The boy gazed at her. The word gazed has positive connotations and reminds me of people in love. This reveals that the characters are in love. So I took the word gazed from this quote in the story and applied it to the character as a whole. I took the word sunny in level 1, saying as positive connotations, and I applied it to the setting as a whole. See? Character as a whole, setting as a whole. Let's continue. The girl was inquisitive. The word inquisitive has positive connotations and reminds me of an investigator or someone who wants to learn new things. This informs that the character is a good character. So inquisitive has positive connotations. I found it from this quote. This word makes me feel or think something on a level 1, so I can apply the way the character was described on a level 2 analysis. So level 3, now we want to look at theme and connections. So let's look at the 3 little pigs. Okay, possible themes of the 3 little pigs, or the big bad wolf and the 3 little pigs, is using violence will not get you what you want. The wolf tries to violently blow down the pigs' houses so he can catch and eat them. However, he cannot blow down the brick house, no matter how violently he tries. Well, let's go through this on a level 1, level 2, level 3 analysis. So, what do you think could be a level 1 analysis based on this written part of the story? Well, why don't we take this word violently because it describes a character, right? Describes the wolf. Or, just kidding. That's a different one. Let's talk about how the wolf is described as a big bad wolf. Okay? So, big bad wolf has negative connotations, right? So bad is the word on level 1 that makes me feel or think something. Level 2, it reveals the whole character, that the wolf is a violent character. So I take the small, the word, and how it makes me feel or think, or what I think. I apply it to the whole of something, so the whole character, as I'm talking about the character here. And then I apply it to the theme. So it develops a theme that using violence will not get you what you want. Okay, so this is the 3 little pigs. Let's keep going. So a possible theme, don't be lazy and take shortcuts. We can also look at the 3 little pigs. So the first 2 pigs quickly make houses from straw and twigs. These are blown down easily by the wind or the world. You know, twigs and straw are just weak little pieces of nature, weak little pieces of trees and grass and stuff. So these are blown down easily. However, the third pig takes more time to construct a house from bricks, and the wolf is unable to blow this down. So let's look at a leveled analysis. Well, let's say we look at the straws and the twigs. Straw and twigs kind of makes us think of something weak, not strong. So if we take the description of the straw and the twigs as weak, we can apply that to both the pigs. Pig 1 and pig 2 are revealed to be lazy because they use the straw and the twigs, which is really quick to put up and easy because it's lightweight, but it's quick to fall down. Well, if 1 and 2 are revealed to be lazy, a theme could be this presents a theme that people shouldn't take shortcuts to achieve a goal. Okay, so this is how we can apply the theme. Remember that the theme is the message the author is trying to portray to us through a story. Okay, so 3 little pigs, we saw 2 different themes. You know, don't be violent, also don't take shortcuts. Okay. And finally, my favorite fable, The Hare and the Tortoise. We could look at this on a character level, right? We could say that the hare one day ridiculed the turtle for his short feet and slow pace. Well, what does ridiculed make us think of, right? Ridiculed is a negative word. It makes us think negative things. So on a level 1, we could say ridiculed. Level 2, we could say this reveals that the hare is not a nice person and is not the hero of the story. And level 3, well, let's just keep going. This is an example paragraph about how we can look at the theme and how it's developed in The Hare and the Tortoise. The theme of the tortoise and the hare is to not be so arrogant. This theme is developed by the hare. In the story, the hare laughs and ridicules the tortoise for being slow. The tortoise challenges the hare to a race, but the hare thinks he is going to win, so he falls asleep. In the end, the tortoise wins because of the hare's arrogance. In the story, it says the hare ridiculed the tortoise. This word has negative connotations, and it reminds me of a bully. This reveals that the hare is a mean character. This develops a theme that people should not be arrogant. All right, guys, I know that was long, but that will be extremely helpful for you, especially for those of you who are learning at home right now. Please watch this, please take it in, rewatch it, and I can't wait to see all your amazing analysis in the future. Thanks, guys.